On Wednesday, November 23, 2011, a Rockwell 690 Aero Commander flew into the side of the Superstition Mountains outside Phoenix, Arizona, at night in clear weather. 3 adults and 3 children lost their lives. According to the NTSB, the pilot's complacency and poor situational awareness caused the accident. But there's more to the story. A week before the accident, the airplane, November 690 Sierra Mike, was purchased from a seller in Indiana and flown with a ferry permit to Safford, Arizona to join a fleet of 9 other commanders used for wildfire operations under a government contract. The 6-seat turbine-powered airplane was not equipped with a terrain awareness and warning system, though by regulation it should have been. Zero Sierra Mike was equipped with a KLN-90 GPS. While this model has a basic moving map and direct-to functionality, it doesn't depict terrain. The pilot was known, however, for regularly flying with an iPad and software that gave him terrain awareness, but it's not clear if he was using it the night the accident occurred. Earlier that week, the experienced pilot, who was also a mechanic, flew a different Aero Commander round trip from Safford to Mesa Falcon Field and back to Safford, an almost identical profile to the accident flight. GPS direct to and from Mesa in a Commander, at night, under similar weather conditions. There was no reason to believe his flight 2 days later would end any differently. On the night of the accident, Zero Sierra Mike, with its ferry permit expired and past its inspection window, thus legally unairworthy, departed Safford for a 110 nautical mile trip to Mesa Falcon Field to pick up the co-owner's 3 young children for Thanksgiving. After landing at Mesa around 6 p.m., an hour after sunset, the pilot called his brother and was happy to report the airplane had performed as expected. About 10 minutes later, the 3 adults and 3 children boarded for the leg back to Safford under a calm, moonless night with clear skies. Upon departure, Mesa Tower instructed Zero Sierra Mike,
"Fly straight out, I'll call you right turn for inbound traffic, runway 4 right, clear for takeoff."
Clear for takeoff, 4 right, we'll fly runway heading till advised. 0 Sierra Mike.
As requested, the pilot extended his upwind leg and was cleared for the right turn almost 2 minutes after departing. 1 minute 30 seconds later, the pilot leveled off on a direct course to Safford at 4,500 feet in order to remain below the 5,000-foot floor of the Phoenix-class Bravo, as most pilots flying VFR out of Mesa did, until clear of Phoenix airspace. 2.5 minutes later, Zero Sierra Mike impacted the face of the Flatiron region of the Superstition Mountains, which rise abruptly from the surface to an elevation of about 4,800 feet at the point of impact. CFIT, or controlled flight into terrain, continues to be among the leading types of fatal general aviation accidents. This mishap highlights some common themes that surround CFIT accidents: VFR, at night, in sparsely lit hilly terrain, and oftentimes with an experienced pilot at the controls. In this case, perceived airspace limitations may have also played a significant role in why the pilot flew this particular profile. What we do know is that the pilot did not ask for VFR flight following or permission to transit the overlying Class Bravo airspace. Operating so close to unlit mountainous terrain at night should certainly warrant flight following and safety alerts from ATC. But in this region, pilots often reported difficulties in getting flight following or permission to enter the Class Bravo due to a long-standing FAA policy with the Phoenix TRACON that denies these services to VFR traffic. It's likely the pilot knew this and, combined with his recent flights in the area, determined the risk of staying below the Class Bravo was minimal. But this was the exact flight he flew only 2 days earlier. If we look at that flight path, we see that a direct line between the airports keeps the airplane south of the mountains until clear of the Class Bravo shelf. But if we alter that route just slightly north and begin a GPS direct route to Safford from an extended upwind leg, the route goes directly over the mountains. In other words, had the pilot made an immediate turnout after departure as normal, The GPS course line between the airports would have kept them clear of the terrain. But an extended upwind leg, followed by a direct-to route from that point, took them too far north to avoid the mountains. So, what lessons can we draw from this tragedy? To begin with, we can use every tool at our disposal to ensure a safe flight. For example, terrain awareness technology is available on devices we already own, such as smartphones and tablets. In addition, following published departure procedures at night guarantees clearance from obstacles. Most local TRACONs are happy to assist VFR pilots, so make a point to ask ATC for help and services. VFR flight following exists for a reason. Having extra eyes on you, especially when it's dark and you can't see what's in front of you, makes sense. In most circumstances, your request will be granted, but you can't get these services if you don't ask for them. But more generally, and possibly more importantly, always be on guard for changes to the normal way of operating. When things aren't normal is when our guard should be up to the dangers that surround us. In this particular instance, something as seemingly innocuous as extending the upwind leg a few miles wouldn't seem to make that much of a difference, but it did. A safety culture is not a checklist item. It is a way of operating that pays attention to the details. Flying a mechanically sound airplane outside of its inspection window or on an expired ferry permit may not sound like a big deal. But once you start down the slippery slope of ignoring the details, you may be looking at consequences bigger than you intended.